All right, and we should be live. Go ahead, Alex.
All right, what's up, guys? I'm Alex.
I'm Jason. We're the Table Monkeys. It's another episode of Table Talks 2.0, and we are joined today by the big, the powerful, the filthy Brandon Allen.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah, I appreciate the invite. Looking forward to chatting with you guys.
Yeah, awesome, man. We're just trying to do these as many as possible, and we love talking about training. And I've really felt that talking to you would be a lot of fun, especially when we get into training and everything. Like I said, with our background. So
yeah, we have a lot of
love talking about training, man. I'm learning a ton from everyone, and sorry to interrupt you. Just learning a ton from everyone, and it's definitely something I look forward to learning more. So
yeah,
hopefully we can figure some new ideas out from each other and move forward and get stronger quicker.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the goal, right? I think you've obviously progressed pretty quickly in the sport already. You're only in the sport now for about 2 years.
Yeah, coming up on 2 years here, I think in July or something like that. So just right around the corner. I'm completely obsessed with it, completely in love with it. Just like anything I do over the top. So this has been a ton of fun, and I won't. I'm just looking. I want to fast forward 5 years, right, and just get all that elbow integrity and wrist strength, developed. But it's all part of the journey and getting there and learning new ways and trying to share with the community and how I did it, right. I think right now there's not a lot of people in that intermediate lower level putting out information. So when you're getting information from someone that's been doing it for 30 years, you might not be doing what they need to be doing when you first start. You may not have the elbow integrity to do it. So learning what I'm learning and just trying to share it with the community and, advancing forward and getting us all to that top level, quick as we can.
And like people on our level explain things differently than guys at the top level, right? Like you have Devin, who's very philosophical the way he speaks, and it can be kind of hard for beginners to understand what he means by everything. But then you've got guys like us who kind of just say, hey, this is how you do pronation. This is good for your top roll. And they can pick it up a lot easier because it's more easy to understand. They're not having to deal with, Devin's
his innuendos and his
combat,
Right. No, that's kind of where the way I'm approaching it. I'm just approaching it from a very layman, very dumbed down version of it. And it took a while for me to even understand the difference between hooking and top rolling. And I'm sure I'm not alone. Practice, you think like, oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, but it all kind of feels the same. You really have no idea what you're doing. So I've been putting out content to address those kind of things. And the terminology like pronation, that's pronation, where it doesn't, if you're very green, these aren't regular terminology you use in everyday language. So I've made videos for stuff like that as well, just to kind of explain the basis to people. And and helping I think when if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, then you don't truly understand it yourself. So when you explain things and you break it down, it really helps you understand your own understanding of it, right? I'm sure that makes sense, but it just it makes you more self-aware of what's going on and what you're doing.
Yeah. I think one of the differences too, and this is one that we all share, is that we all come from a strength background, and a lot of the guys that have been in arm wrestling for the last 30 years, they have been arm wrestling for that long, so that's how they develop it. But a lot of the normal guys that you meet, maybe not Devin or Michael Todd or like the very top, but they're carpenters or they're like manual labor guys or whatever it is like that. But the point is, they don't come from a strength background. They do it kind of as a hobby. They do it for fun, so to speak. And so the way they approach training becomes a lot different too. Like us all having this background of understanding how to train and then now applying it to another sport gives us that other angle as well,
Yeah, no, I think, top on what you said, it's they don't come from a fitness background, like powerlifting, strongman, grip training, any of these little subgenres of strength sports is in the fitness industry. So I think arm wrestling is now developing more into a fitness industry thing. Obviously, I've learned, you see it at expos and things like that. But you'll have guys in there at those expos that have never stepped in a gym a day in their life, and they're just sick arm wrestlers. So
exactly,
it's definitely there's a disconnect between the communities and that, and not a lot of the guys have the structured training fitness background, but the top guys do.
Oh,
So
for sure, the top guys do. That's why I meant to separate it there, as I was stating. Yeah.
Did we lose Alex?
I think we lost him a little bit. He's at his gym right now, so I don't know if he got it. Are you there, Alex?
Can you hear me? I can hear you guys. I just can't.
Yeah, we can hear you. We just can't see you.
And my computer's fucking with me right now.
No worries. Take a second. I wanted Brandon. One of the things we wanted to do is, and now that we're talking about our backgrounds, powerlifting and stuff, is just kind of go over what you did as a powerlifter. When I was getting out of powerlifting, you were starting to really come up. It was around, I think, 2014, 15. And I used to lift with Jeremy Hamilton a lot and stuff. And I know he mentioned that he knew you, or he did do a couple meets that you were at and stuff. So can you just kind of go over for everybody, like how far you took powerlifting and what kind of happened, why you don't powerlift anymore?
Yeah, just to top of what I said earlier, everything I do way over the top and to the highest extreme. So powerlifting is no different. I powerlifted competitively for 8 years to a decade, depending on how you look at it. When I started off, I was always just like, I played football and things like that. I was always the strongest guy on the team and everything. I loved the gym. I was always a gym rat my whole life. Yeah. And then I just kind of came across some dudes at the gym that were doing this thing called powerlifting, which is some weird shit I thought they did in Russia. And, I hopped into a meet, did really well. The next, a few months later, I did a world's event in Las Vegas, and I won the event and best lifter and whatever at the, both events I did. I was just hooked. So I started,
how many years in did you win that event?
Like 3 months into it.
Oh, wow. Jesus.
Yeah. So I had a gift for sure. And then obviously I've been weight training since I was 12 years old. I got a weight set in my garage when I was 12. There probably there hasn't been longer than 5 days since then that I've missed a workout. Maybe less, you know what I mean? To be honest, maybe just a few days. So, the weight training was always there. I was always strong. And then when I started getting into competitive powerlifting, I realized how cool the community was. And, I just love that strength aspect. It was super underground. It's gone way mainstream now, at least, relative to where it was. And it was just cool. It was just kind of something I thought was dope, and to be big and strong, who doesn't want to do that? So I started taking it pretty far and pretty serious. I won every event I've ever done other than Big Dogs 3, which I can talk about that a little bit. I just had a gift for it, and I was really good at obsessing. I knew I can suffer more than more people can suffer, and they can mentally handle. Right. I knew I could put those hours in the gym that most people wouldn't be able to do. Yeah. So with that came quick success. It wasn't long into my career where I'm already knocking on the door of some of the world records in terms of total and things like that in the 308 class. At that time, I was kind of chasing Eric Lillybridge. Yeah. And then I started getting bigger. And obviously, I learned with me and my genetics, the way things work for me, the more weight I put on, the easier weight was to move. So I started powerlifting at like 290 pounds. I would drop to the 275 class to where when I ended my career was super heavyweight, walking around at 350 pounds and competing at 370. So like I said, I do everything to the max. As I kept getting bigger, I kept getting stronger. So I stopped worrying about 308. And plus Eric was still kind of a little bit of a gap on me until I started putting on weight. And then I was catching Eric's numbers. And then Daniel Bell started rising at the same time. So me and Daniel Bell now, I think we both put up a 2303 raw total the exact same day at two different ends of the country. Wow. And that's where things started really getting serious. I just tied Stan Efferding's record, who was like, just so far out of my reach in my head when I started. Yeah. Right? Here I am hitting the same.
I remember when he hit that.
Yeah, in LA, right? In LA Fit Expo. So, and I did it very easily. Like, probably had 2.5 to 3% in all the lifts still. So it was a really good day. 9 for 9, 2303 total. And then things just kept progressing. Oh, I think so. Shortly after that, now I was on track to break the all-time world record for raw total, which I can't remember the name. It was held by a dude for like 30 years, like 20 years. I think Kirill came out of nowhere and broke it. Anyways, I was supposed to break that record, or at least I was on track to.
At super heavy, right? The world record at super heavy, or you were still
super heavy. Yeah, this is super heavy. I was walking around at like 330 at this time. So too big to get to 308, not really big enough to be with the super heavies, but at the same time, I was just in that weird weight. Yeah. So, but I was on track to break that record. I think it was like a 2250 or 60 raw total. I don't remember, like raw, no wraps.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was on track to break that, and then I had a horrible meet, had some health issues. I was young and dumb, and I was blasting crazy amounts of gear, and just pushing everything super hard, and
Yeah.
just eating not great. And anyways, had a health scare, threw up blood on the platform. I walked to the back. My coach looked at me. He was like, "Dude, you got it. You're done, man." He's like, "You can't compete today." And this is Chad Wesley Smith I'm talking about. One of,
Oh, wow.
my opinion, I respect him more than anyone in the powerlifting strength world.
Yeah.
But anyways, he tells me I'm done. I'm like, oh fuck, man. So kind of reevaluate it. I came off gear for like about a year, got my health right, dropped down to like 295, 300 pounds, and then start training hard again and making a return. In that time, several injuries. I was getting, you had all that muscle memory of all that strength. So I was getting so strong so quick that tendons weren't really keeping up with the growth. And, little tears, micro tears here and there. I tore my supraspinatus, a teres minor in my shoulder, a couple injuries, whatever. I don't remember them all. Anyways, fast forward to 2018. Now I'm back ready to make my return. I'm walking around 325, 330 pounds, stronger than I've ever been in the gym. And then I did the Kern 2018 where pretty notorious meet for me where I dropped my final deadlift and lost 30 grand because of that. I'll walk you through it. But Kern in San Diego is one of the nastiest meets ever done in the United States in terms of competition, cash prizes, all the conditions. It was on a big old wobbly stage, brand new bars. Kabuki bars were just introduced. These aren't like the final rendition of the Kabuki bars either. This was like on the last minute they spurred on us. It was a Kabuki bar. Bearings weren't great. Just a lot of things in the. It was crazy. The judging was insane. If your nuts didn't touch the floor, it was getting a white red lights. Not many of us have big nuts in powerlifting, so squats were pretty low. Anyways, I was really adamant on squatting 1,000 pounds at that meet. It just didn't happen. Opening was like 925. They called me on depth. I watched it many times. It looked legit to me. I went right to 975. I squatted in a way that I shouldn't have. Just trying to hit that extra depth and just stapled me to the floor. So, that's a huge mental fuck. And, I instantly look at the head judge. I was like 1,003. And my coach is like, Brandon, he's like, it's a long drive back home to Vegas from San Diego. If you miss this squat, you're out. I'm like, fuck, so he's in my head. I'm like, all right, retake the 975. Retook it, smoked it. You know what I mean? I was peaked for over 1,000, but anyways, that's how that went. We're going through bench. I got some weird calls in bench. I hit 579, but I got a downward motion call on it. Again, whatever it is, what it is, moved on. I think I got 567, I was credit for, and then ended up to deadlift. Mind you, this was a Wilks meet, so it's based off a formula for body weight. Usually favors a lighter guy. Doesn't typically favor a super heavyweight where all we give a fuck about is the total. I was beating everyone total by like 200 pounds. Yep. I had already won the super heavyweight division, like JP Price, Rob Philippus. There's a lot of big names in that meet. But I was on top of my game. Yeah. Jake, John, big boy. There's a lot big. It was a good meet. Anyways, I was battling Yuri Belkin from Russia in terms of the Wilks formula, which he was a 242er. This formula definitely favored him. I was beating him by over 200 pounds on the total, but we were neck and neck on Wilks. Came down to the last deadlift. We did the math on it. It was either pull 860, which would have gave me a 2,400 pound total and secured second place for sure, which I was already in second. So there's no point in that. And I was like, no, what do I need to win? So we did the math and it was 887 pounds to deadlift to win. Mind you, I only pulled 823 in training. So 887 was a bit of a stretch. Yeah. Even with the perfect peak, it just would have, the numbers just kind of didn't add up. But, we're like, I didn't come there to get second place, so fucking send it. Larry Wills was on the platform with me. He had just pulled 881 successfully, 400 kilo. And then I went 882 and a half, which is 887 pounds. Yeah. I flew up. I couldn't believe it. None of us could. My coach couldn't believe it. And then the bars just kind of rolling. I get the down command and I just fucking dropped it. Like in powerlifting, you can't drop the deadlift. You have to control it all the way down. I've watched that 100 times. I could have ran the bar down with my hands into the ground and maybe got one red. I played every scenario in my fucking head. I kicked myself in the ass for that for a long time. So I went from getting first place. Like I got first place in the super heavy and the highest total and everything, but I went from first place in the Wilks, which would have won the entire event, which was $40,000 plus the 1,000 winning your class of 41 grand. Dropping that deadlift put me down to 10 grand instead of 41. So it hurt. It fucking sucked, and it haunts me. But anyways, that happened. Now the buzz is kind of big, in terms of what I'm doing. I'm on track to break the all-time world record, which was held by Andre Molchev at the time. It was 25:07 or like 25:13, something like that. But 2,500-pound raw total is insane.
It was insane.
But
hit that was again like, who is ever gonna come near that? That's
we thought it was gonna stay forever, and it only took me 2 years to catch up to it. So I never broke it. I would never take that credit, but I was on track to, right? The stars would add a line, have a perfect meet, whatever. Anyways, I went like 6 for 9 that meet in San Diego. Didn't do great in terms of attempts. Fast forward, Big Dogs 3. I've been invited to this event for the last few years. Never wanted to go because I just don't go to events to lose or get second or third place. If I don't think I'm in a position to win it, I don't really see the reason to travel all the way to Australia. It's not cheap. I think the event cost me like 10 grand to go to, me and my wife. So, and that's that's from help with sponsors and everything. It's not cheap. Staying there for 2 weeks, acclimating, just all the food, eating out, like, oh man, it was fucking rough.
Yeah.
So go out there to Big Dogs, which is if you guys that aren't familiar, Big Dogs is by far the largest event in terms of skill and who's invited. It's only the top dogs. Like, they invite the top 10 in the world. Typically they're all super heavyweights because the bigger guys are the stronger guys. Sometimes there'll be some 308s in there, like Eric Lillibridge, who then puts on weight for that event. I know Larry's been invited but never went. I know Yuri Belkin went in 2000 or in the Big Dogs 4 as an undersized guy. But anyways, for the most part, super heavyweights, no weight class, no scales, just show up and the biggest total wins. I didn't know what to expect. I know a little bit because my coach Chad had been there, so I had some tips from him, but we didn't understand how quick that meet was going to be ran. In the past, the events lasted longer. When that meet started, that meet ended in 4.5 hours. And mind you, this is super heavyweights, the strongest in the entire world on the globe. Where we're used to having like 12, 15-minute rest in between these huge attempts, going through the entire flights, A, B, C, whatever, at a regular meet. That was not the case. By time it was like a 3-hour gap from my last squat to my first deadlift, which is, with benching in between there. And
you had to up everything and eat probably.
Yeah, it was. Oh yeah, we had no time.
Normally you'd have all that time to eat and everything too in between. Like, actually,
yeah, it was difficult. And mind you, had it's I guess I should have known, or maybe been better prepared. I would have trained with shorter rest periods and whatnot to have my body more acclimated for that. But that's neither here nor there. It was still an amazing event, coolest event I've ever done in my life. Probably will always be. So I squatted 1,008 pounds there. I was the only knucklehead not to use the monolift because I just think monolifts are for pussies. And so I walked out my 1,008-pound squat. Then me and Odell Benwell and Peter Petrus and Eric Lillibridge were kind of the ones battling it out. There's a lot of other killers there. They probably weren't having the best day or for whatever reason after squats. Go on a bench. So after I hit my squat, I go out, they have me give a speech. I'm out there talking shit. You know what I mean? It was pretty fun. And then I'm huffing and puffing. I'm fucking 370 pounds. I can't even fucking see my little wiener. Just life's miserable. But I just squatted a G.
Yeah, so fucking
signing the fucking golden monolift. I was stoked on that. And then they tell me, they're like, hey guys, 15 minutes till bench. I'm like, oh fuck, 15 minutes till we got to start warming up on bench. That kind of sucks. And they're like, no, 15 minutes until bench starts on the platform. So we're like, whoa, what the fuck? So
you're supposed to warm up your bench while you're doing your squat attempts?
Right? So me and Sean Doyle, which are the only guys from the US there, we're like, oh fuck. So we get on a bench, and mind you, our elbows are fucking killing us from just hitting a low bar squat, whatever. Usually you take fucking bunch of ibuprofen, maybe a little T&E or some check drops or something. Yeah. And you're getting ready for the next one with the meal. That wasn't the case. We jumped right on a bench, 1 red, 2 red, 3 red, 4 red, you know what I mean? Up to our, I think around 500 pounds, just one after another on the warm-ups. And then try to give ourselves a little bit of rake. And my opening bench was like 535. Smoked that. There's some plenty of video. You can see me like rubbing my belly and shit after that one. And then my second attempt was 567. It felt so light and I felt so confident on the way down. I just started thinking about the next rep and what weight I'm going to hit and everything. and the weight got away from me, kind of drifted over my face, or no, low on my belly. That's right. And I got fucking pinned under this weight that I've hit so many fucking times. I've doubled it in training, so it just really sucked. So, my wife did all my handoffs, everything for me. So we pull it off. I'm like, oh, I know there's more there, and I know I need more because I'm competing guys like Peter Petrus who are going to bench 610 or 630 pounds, something he did. Just, I just knew the gap was going to be too big if I was stuck with 560, 567. Anyways, it's 2 a.m. back home. I'm talking to Chad on the phone. Chad's like, dude, be smart. Attempts are going to win this. Like, I would just retake that. I retake it. I smoke it. So mad at my fucking self. Because I was with the plan was to go 589 next. And I was super confident that I had 589. The way 567 moved the third time or the second attempt at it, you would say, oh, yeah, 589 was there. Anyways, so now it's a numbers game. We're going down to deadlifts. I'm not the best deadlifter, but I'm not a bad deadlifter. I pulled 887 meet prior, right? But dropped the weight. So
not bad at all.
So I know Odell Manuel is a monster deadlift. He opened up like 881, hurt his hamstring, was kind of out of it, stuck in that second place mark. Peter Petrus was like a high 800 deadlift too. I think he ended with like 881. Anyways, we're coming down to the third attempts. I wanted to be the first. At this time, no one had squatted 1,000 pounds and deadlifted 900 pounds in the same meet. Had not been done, not raw. So I want to be the first guy to do that. So that was really the number I wanted, was a 900-pound deadlift. I pulled 855 on my second. It flew. I wanted to go 900. So we're doing the math, going back and forth, putting in our attempts. And then Peter missed a lift or hit. I don't remember. There's some confusion. I had already changed my attempt twice, and apparently that's the limit you're allowed. I wasn't aware of that. So 898 pounds was my attempt. I wanted to change it to 903 just so I could be the first one with that 9,000. Anyways, it didn't matter because I missed the fucking lift. So we go to the 898, and I get it to a spot that maybe I could have, I feel like I could have fought to that spot a little harder, but I remember seeing stars. I was fucking going out and, dropped the weight and was pretty bummed because, again, I could have done an easier attempt at 881 or something. Secured the second place spot, won like 25 grand, whatever it was. But I didn't go there to get second. I went there to get first. So I swung for the fences and missed it. That's kind of the story of my career. That's what people must know before. Just kind of all out, in the fucking powerlifting shit. But, here we go. Fast forward from there. I'm on track to break the all-time world record. Super confident I'm going to do it the next Kern in 2019. And prepping for that event, I was pretty sure I'd be able to hit 1,050 squat at that event. Prepping for it, like one of my first heavier squat days, the top set was 925 pounds in wraps. And on that last squat I had in that video, you can find this video on Iron Rebels channel. There was a big promote. It was pretty brutal. But in the hole with 925 pounds, my quad completely separated out the bone, rolled up in my hip, and my whole right leg just completely became useless. And that was in the bottom of the weight, 925. I still stood up with it somehow. It's a fucking miracle. And got it in the rack. The doctor said 95% of all these tears that happen like that, both knees goes, because once the one goes, it shifts all the way to the other knee.
Yeah.
So they both go.
Like Brandon Lilly when
exactly, Brandon. I competed against Brandon Lilly when he blew his knees out in LA in 2000.
That was so brutal to watch.
Yeah, no, I heard it and everything. It was fucking disgusting.
Oh my God.
But I would say mine. Here we go. When my knee exploded, it was a fucked up thing to experience just because I was on the top of the world. All the fucking work, programming, right? Helping people out with their training, all the promotion you could ask for. Invited all these events, big money. You know what I mean? Powerlifting, a lot more in arm wrestling than in arm wrestling. But anyways, it just kind of sucked. You know what I mean? All that momentum. Anyways. I get my knee repaired. They tell me I'm about a year away from squatting big weight again. And in my head, that's an eternity, but I know it's going to come. And I'll look back out at all this and I'll laugh because I'll be squatting 1,100 pounds one day. And, that was kind of the mentality I had.
Yeah.
So I'm recovering from my knee surgery and I'm just walking again. I'm just squatting to body weight, like to depth again. My leg's still swollen and stiff and numb, but I'm moving around. I'm pretty happy. I'm riding my Harley to work, to my gym, and I get T-boned at like 50 miles an hour. And that was the nail in the coffin. Luckily, I survived. I launched up like 10, 12 feet in the air and came down right on my head. Luckily, I had a helmet on, but I whipped my back pretty hard. I crushed 5 vertebrae in my spine, broke my pelvis, tore every ligament in my left socket, tore erectors in my back, crushed my left elbow. I got pretty fucked up. I'm just one of those things, man. But I didn't hurt my right knee, luckily. So now my left leg was completely torn. No movement at all. My right knee, my weak knee, I just had surgery on, now became my strong knee. Go figure. So in order for me to walk, I would have to just lean all my lawn crutches, lean all my weight on my right knee, and then my wife would pull my foot forward for me, so then I could advance my next step. So there wasn't a lot of moving going on. I was right back on the couch, pissing in bottles every day. It was mentally pretty tough. Low spot in my life. I just opened up the big gym, expanded the gym and everything. So it was rough. I get through that. I'm starting to make a return in kind of powerlifting in terms of benching big weight. I'm still benching over 500 this time. And, this is when, for already a few weeks, the Las Vegas arm wrestling team was already having practices at my gym, through, my buddy Eric Spoto and our buddy Eric. And then I met the Latonas. And anyways, so, they're already having practice at my gym. I would drop in every now and then. I just didn't like it because I'd get on there. These guys all want to beat up on the big power lifter. And I'm just straight side pressuring fulls. And then my elbows would hurt so bad I couldn't fucking bench. Yep. And I was like, I like it, but I still want to power lift. Anyways, training powerlifting and then still going to arm wrestling practices here or there, but not really. I just kind of started to accept big weights on my back probably aren't realistic. You know what I mean? And just probably isn't very smart. I'm older, starting to realize, okay, this powerlifting shit's kind of stupid. You're killing yourself for fucking what? I'm making good money and whatever. And, but there's better ways to do it that, that's not going to make me 55 years old and unable to get out of bed. And, it's kind of maturing a little bit in terms of training and what makes sense and what's smart to do. And I was like, I'm a competitive person. I need to be competing. This is like with powerlifting, it was great because it gave me something to compete and do and win. And, before that, I was going to bars and beating the shit out of people and being a fucking asshole. And that's no way to live, And so powerlifting filled that void. And I was kind of accepting I was done with powerlifting. My mind's kind of like, fuck, man, what am I going to do?
Yeah, that void appears again.
Yeah.
Right. I need to do something where I can fucking test my fucking nuts, and, arm wrestling kind of became that. And I was super lucky to have the team that I had access to and, my gym and whatnot. So, I met Devin Larrett and then again, mind you, I've known Corey, Derek Smith and a few other guys prior to this who kind of really started putting me up on game. But when I met Devin, I really fell in love with it because here I am, Eric Spoto, who is just the king of strength. There's no one stronger than him on the planet. You know what I mean? And in a lot of ways, that's true. And so, and then he's like, dude, you got to come to practice and meet this guy, Devin. He's a world champion. You're going to love him. I'm like, all right, I'll come down and meet this guy. So I see Devin walk in, just looking like a straight ape, knuckles dragging on the floor, just massive forearms, bigger than his biceps. I'm like, that's an odd shaped figure. And Eric Spoto's like, that fool smashed me on arm wrestling. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, no way. Because I've gripped up with Eric and, it's just scary.
He's a freak.
And Eric's like, that fool smashed me. And I'm like, what? No way. And I see it happening. And, Eric gives Devin work for sure. But, I'm ready to go in like a real setting. That's Devin's match.
Yeah.
So, it's just so crazy to see. And I'm like, man, I want to learn how to do that. Like, I'm pretty stupid and obsessive. I can obsess on something and maybe get to like this level one day, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of what kind of set me off. And I just started training hard as fuck and started. Now I'm like 50-50 between powerlifting and arm wrestling.
Oh, I can't hear him anymore.
Yeah, sorry, you just broke up there after you said 50-50 arm wrestling and powerlifting.
Yeah, so I was 50-50 arm wrestling, powerlifting, but at this time I started to gear more towards the arm wrestling. I started really falling in love with it, and recovery was getting a little better. So there's a tournament up in Utah. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, let's do this. So it's at FitCon. A friend of mine, the Muscle from Diesel Brothers, maybe you know who he is. He asked me if I would come up to this expo and shit. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. I was like, I saw there's an arm wrestling tournament there. I've been training now for a while, for a little bit. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go do it. So I go out there. I do well. No disrespect to people that were there. It just wasn't a huge turnout of a tournament. I ran through everyone left and right hand. Wasn't many guys in my weight class, but a lot of the other guys pulled up thinking they were going to beat up on this big dude that doesn't know how to arm wrestle. I think they learned a little different story that day. So, one left and right hand, and then boom, I'm in Montana partying with my wife and my family and drinking. We're off roading, and then Dave DePew gives me a ring, and I'm like, "The fuck is Dave on?" I'm like, "What's up, man?" And he's like, "Hey, dude, would you be interested in a super match versus me at King of Cali at my son's event?" I'm like, "When?" And then it was in a few months. I was like, "Fuck it, let's go." So now it's like I don't like losing, so it's all arm wrestling at this point. I'm still doing general strength training, powerlifting, but that's definitely a secondary. That's an hour workout. My arm wrestling's a 3-hour workout, but I'm still doing them both every day. Or powerlifting 4 days a week, arm wrestling 6 days a week. So train for Dave Q, go to King of Cali. Terrified, have no idea what to expect, don't know what the fuck is going on. The strap setup was so bad. I was too scared to tell the ref anything. After the match, I told the ref, I was like, "Hey man, that thing was like all the way up and like over my knuckles." And I was like, "Can it be lower next time?" He's like, "Oh yeah, you just got to fucking tell me." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So, then the next, I get a good wrap set up, and I beat Dave 3-0. Pretty decisively. It was a ton of fun at that tournament. Did a lot of after pulling, learned a lot, got that first super match out of the way. Then I get the call from fucking Larry Wheels. Me and Larry obviously have similar backgrounds. We competed against each other in powerlifting, different weight classes, but nonetheless, similar strength backgrounds. Both took the sport to the highest level, and now our balls deep in arm wrestling. So Larry asked me if I would be interested in coming out to Dubai for King of the Table 2, and I'm like, fucking hey, let's go. So I started training for that, and that's 3 workouts a day. I was going pretty hard, just doing everything I can to be ready for Larry. And that wasn't that long ago. I'm sure we all remember. The internet did not think I had a chance. I thought I was stupid for taking that match. All day, if I read what everyone was saying, and if I gave a fuck, I wouldn't have gone, right? But I love it, actually. I was using it for fuel. I'd be in my workouts and just envisioning and flashpin by Larry over and over again. And so
were you used to kind of like abuse coming from people on the internet? Was that something you experienced in powerlifting, or just was that completely?
Oh yeah, dude, fucking hey, the internet's full of trash, man. There's you have your gems, but for the most part, the internet's full of shit. And if you care what people say about you on the internet, stay off. It ain't for you. Luckily, I got thick skin. I don't give a fuck. Say what you want. It is what it is. Guarantee you won't say that shit to my face. So it's kind of my mentality. Yeah. So Larry, I'm supposed to get my ass kicked by him. Anyone that knows me knows it's probably not going to be the case, because I'm going to do every fucking thing. Short of like an injury, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I win that match. Yeah. And that's what I did. I knew I was going to beat him ugly. I knew I was going to Kings move him, and I knew I was going to piss a lot of people off, and I didn't give a fuck. So I went out there and did just that. There was all that talk on the internet. I wasn't saying shit because it wasn't going to change anyone's mind, and nothing means anything other than the last few moments that there is right before the match. That's all they're going to remember. Exactly. So Larry's putting out his videos, fucking, making little jabs here and there. He's got, guys like, maybe Spoto should go out there and pull him anyway. Instead, Spoto would fucking destroy Larry. That's not even a match. I just, in my head, I'm like, fuck, these guys have no idea. So I waited till I was there, and that's when I started chirping, you know what I mean? And now we got these press interviews, and I knew I was going to have a moment, talk some shit, and let people know how I get down. And that's what I did. Got in Larry's head for sure. You can tell he was stuttering at times. There's a lot of stuff that didn't make it on camera that you guys didn't see. Just know I play that bully role pretty well. And I made sure that's what I did. And it's funny, after Larry's like asked me, hey, you got that video of you and Mike Aiello pulling? I'm like, there's no video, dog. I was making all that shit up. There's like so many funny moments that I think I opened his eyes up too to how the game's playing. You know what I mean? If you start making someone doubt, you get in their fucking head, you're gonna make them second guess, and you can get away with some shit. You know what I mean? Or
it's that combat aspect of the sport,
Yeah, definitely.
Ready to go.
Would you say, Brandon, that combat aspect is what you noticed with Devin and Eric the first time you saw them pull, that got you kind of more interested in it than the other times when you had tried it?
Yeah, definitely. That, and then I saw Eric not able to pin Monster Michael Todd, and that fucked Eric up, and it motivated me, because Eric has never not been able to pin someone, I think, in like 20 years. So when Monster Michael Todd came down and Eric couldn't get through his King's move, I was like, man, I thought
There's
Eric was
technique here.
unstoppable.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, oh, there's a lane, there's a way. So that really started inspiring me too. But then just watching guys like Devin and how he competes, like watching his match versus Dave Chafee and WAL and all the backstage shit, I was like, oh, this is fucking cool.
Awesome.
I'm gonna do it like that.
Yeah.
You know,
that's more that football aspect, right? It's like in between plays in football, when you're on the line, you just fuck somebody up, and then they're back in the huddle, and you're yelling at them through the huddle. Like,
oh yeah, I played fullback. You know, I played fullback, so I'm a glorified lineman that got a running start. And I would, you know, I would call out blocking assignments, and I would it was so much fun just telling a linebacker, "I'm coming right for you, motherfucker," and you know what I mean, and doing it, and then my tailback breaking through and getting a 30-yard run or something like that. I loved all that, you know. I loved the shit talking and combat, you know. And then arm wrestling, it's nerve-wracking, man. You could train all you fucking want. Powerlifting, I knew what 887 was going to feel like. I knew what 1,000 pounds was going to feel like, because it's going to feel the same as long as I peak proper and my nutrition, my sleep is proper. I know what I got a pretty good idea what it's going to feel like. Arm wrestling, you have no idea.
And on the day of, based on how 700 feels, you know how you're going to feel for 887. You know, like
you don't get none of that. Right.
Yeah.
We don't like get a grip up and go, okay, only 50%. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, I feel good. You know what I mean? Then go, it's fucking boom. Yeah. So it's funny. I was warming up in the back. One of the Canadian dude, friend of Devin's, can't remember his name. Sorry about that. But anyways, I'm warming up in the back with him. And I feel like maybe I did a little too much, right? And then John Brezink is like, hey, let me feel your back pressure real quick. I don't know if I can say no to John. So we got on the pressure, give him some back pressure. Like, oh, you got good back pressure. So now I'm like, oh, he gassed me up a little bit. But I'm like, fuck. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck, how much longer do we got? I'm like, oh, shit, 12 minutes. So it was pretty funny. I was like thinking maybe I did a little too much, but we all remember how that went. And that definitely wasn't the case.
Yeah, that was amazing, man. The way you dismantled him like that. Like you played the perfect cards. Was that seeing that scene of Michael Todd and Eric Spoto what inspired you to start learning how to Kings move? And
no, I always did. I didn't learn how to Kings move.
I really want to talk to you about that, because I don't know if you know that I'm a Kings mover too. I don't know how much you've looked into our videos.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
But yeah, just like how I feel like it has something to do with deadlifting or power. I'm not sure where it comes from, but just this, or maybe for me, what I found right away was that if I turn, I can drag against people's side pressure. So guys, when I get into practice and they could just blast me to the side, if I kind of come out and drag this way, then all of a sudden it would like mitigate their side pressure. And then it kind of grew from there. But what was it about the Kings move that felt natural right off the bat?
So I have two theories. One, exactly what you said. Like when I can go more sideways, hug into the table more, I can drag back to counter someone's wrist, which this is usually going to be stronger than this. In most cases, unless you're just a freak, which I'm sure that exists.
Especially with the strap, right?
Especially in a strap, right? Yeah. So I would even Kings move without a strap, to be honest. I've done it many times, but more like a hook Kings move type thing.
Yeah, it's like a Kings hook, yeah.
So my other theory on that would be because I didn't do a curl for 10 years. Why would I? It's not going to help my squat, bench, or deadlift. I didn't, but when I would do curls, it'd be like heavy hammers, just mainly for my finger strength, and I'm swinging them from the bottom, and that's just to keep my hands from opening up to help me grip the barbell for deadlifting, right? So all the work would be like right here, and the rest is kind of momentum.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a ton of work right here. It looks like I'm jerking off a giant ghost. Never up here. So my up close would be weak, but outside would be very strong.
Yeah.
As well.
That was Jeremy's exact theory as well, is that like as lifters, we do everything full range. So that bottom of the range is going to be where most of the strength development is, where like arm wrestlers are doing everything like minimal, like partial rep range like that. And then also I felt like it had something to do with, even when you deadlift, even though your arm's locked out, it's not like you're still bracing your arms so that like, you know what I mean? Like there's still pressure there. And then also bench pressing, like out here, you have like, you're developing strength in like this position,
Sure. Yeah.
So
like
maybe
Scott Mendelson's a great example as well. A 700-pound raw bencher and 1,000-pound equip bencher, and he got a Kings move as well. It's a weird spot. Me and Scott are actually going to be doing some pulling pretty soon here.
Awesome.
I'm competing at the LA Fit Expo on May 21st. But
I heard you talking about that in your last BJ show.
Yeah. So after that, then I'm going to go down. Scott's not that far from me. He's like a 3.5-hour drive. So I'm going to go down there to his gym, and we'll do some table practice and some shit. From what I hear, I know he's nasty as shit, and we both have a similar style. I think it's going to be a real ugly pulling session. But again, I think, I have a pretty good press. My press is getting better and better each time I start applying it. My hook is getting better too. I think my hook is from like last night I interviewed Mega Mike on Good Morning BJ. And he says like, no, your hook's good. It just, I don't have any confidence in it is the problem. So, and then like, I'm still learning that like, just because it feels horrible for me, it feels just as horrible for that guy. And, in my head, I'm like, oh, it feels terrible for him. It must just feel fucking great. Which, again, I'm less than 2 years into this. I'm still learning. So I need to get more confident with using my hook. And that way, when I go against guys who just have a superior top roll than me or longer arm, whatever it may be, I can try to mitigate that power and get on their bicep. Because I don't think there's two. I know exist, especially in my class, but there's no too many guys in my level, with a few years into it that have stronger biceps than me. I'm going to be pretty sure of that. I train fucking arms very, very hard. And I know it exists. I'm just saying there's not many of them. So if I can start getting confident, getting people on their bicep, I think that'll really open up lanes for me. And
well, again, being such a fight sport, like you said, there's going to be like, if King's move's basically a top roll. So, but if your King's move's strong enough, then you'll be able to stop the press or the hook or anybody that's coming inside there. But if somebody's got a much better lever than you, like for me, I find a longer lever, even if I'm stronger than the person, the King's move can be a lot less effective. But if I can just drop them down onto their bicep, then all of a sudden it's a totally different story. So like that for me especially was a big part of the game, was figuring out, like you said, the confidence in the hook. It was like, if we just got there and set in one, I might feel okay. But then like, how do I get there? And then what are the good positions? And also learning the directions in the hook, was just like, because everybody pulls it a little different. So you pull with this guy and they do it like more to the side and more like with their shoulder over it. And then the other guy is more about like dragging back and using his bicep. And so you start to learn all the different angles of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And to be honest, we're both similar experience. I'm sure you could agree. Hook training, like on the table, fucking ruins your elbows, at least at this stage of training for me, where I can do a lot more back pressure, even just center table fighting with guys with our hands more on the flat side. And it just doesn't hurt as bad. Where when I go hook and I'm diving in, me and Corey Bresnan did a bunch of hook pulling the other weekend when he was here in town. And it feels like that's like 13 days ago or 10 days ago, actually. And I'm still fucked up. My arm still hurts really bad to where my workouts are just I'm miserable. I'm doing them. I'm getting through it all, but I'm miserable right now. And I just, I didn't sleep the first fucking week after that practice. My arm was just throbbing like a toothache. I'd be laying in bed, just like, whoa. And man, it sucks, dude.
Oh yeah. I remember the first practice I got, like my gym is like a 5-minute drive from my house. I got to the first traffic light. I drive standard. I got to the first traffic light and I was like, I think I need to call my wife to come like pick me up. Like, I don't even know if I can drive home right now. And I remember thinking that too, like how do these guys arm wrestle for hours and hours and hours? So let's get into training a bit. So how often do you pull? And are you more a table time or gym time right now?
Gym time for sure. I think that there's levels to it, right? I think it all is going to depend on the person, what they're built and what their elbow integrity is like. So I'm just going to tell you the generality and what's been working for me. I think that when you first start, table time is important, even though you're not going to be able to do it very often because you're going to be so sore. And then you're not even really able to train in the gym because you're going to be so sore from the fucking table. But I think the table time would be trumping all and trying to get as much time as you can on the table to learn what to do in the gym. So, when you're in the gym, you learn from these pressures that you feel on the table how to mimic that pressure in the gym. So, I mean, if I program for someone, I'm telling them back pressure. It's just if you know where to feel the pressure from, it's going to make a lot more sense and help you with your gym training. So, I'm trying to do table time every other week, and then I want to do left arm and then right arm. So I'm only training on the table each arm one time a month.
Okay, interesting.
And that way every week I'm doing something so I don't have a decaying technique, or every other week, I'm doing something so I don't have a decaying technique, meaning that I'm understanding movements and things like that on the arms. But I just don't think I can get stronger in the gym when I'm so beat up from the table. And then I'm not getting stronger in the table because I'm so beat up, I'm not doing anything in the gym. I'm sitting on my ass till the next practice and I haven't really even fully recovered. So that's just kind of my theory on it. And I do a lot of back pressure focused training just because that's seems to be what you can train the most that recovers the quickest, just the muscles in the arm involved,
Yeah, you say you're doing like 3-hour workouts, and how could you do that if it was anything involving the elbow, like integrity, right?
Right. I do elbow work once a week. So every week, just once a week, I do elbow work. And I bought the I'm waiting on it to come in, the Saban's handle, the spring handle.
That looks cool.
So as soon as that gets in, that'll be included in my once a week side pressure day, or side pressure work that I do. Because my center table, I think, is probably my biggest lacking point. When I get on my side, I'm very strong. When I get out here, I'm very strong, or relatively very strong. Where the center, there's just, I don't know, like, it doesn't feel like I have it there just quite yet, not connected. Where I feel like that handle is going to really help me in those areas that I feel super weak. Which again, if you can just have so much pressure here on the guy and you build momentum to get you in that good spot, now you're carrying momentum in your strong spot. Just like powerlifting, we have on your deadlift, we work from deficits, we work from blocks, just to get stronger at different starting points. So I think it's optimal to treat it similarly, like, that I did with powerlifting. And that's kind of what I've been doing. And then I track everything I do, always have. So I'm able to develop templates of like the basis, the main work that I do. And then I'm able to share it with the community for an affordable price where they're not hiring me for some custom programming, which, I can do that for anyone. But it ain't cheap. You know what I mean? You're asking a lot of my time, a lot of, learning about you and constant communication.
Well, a lot of time that you spent learning how to do it.
Yeah. You're not paying for the, 2 hours that's going to develop the program. You're paying for the fucking, several hundred hours I've been putting into, 1,000 hours I've been putting into learning more about the sport. And then the, 10 years of powerlifting strength training I learned prior to that. And then the other 10 years prior to that is just gym bro training. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, where a template is going to be kind of basis, covers more scalable to where kind of anyone can do it. And then they can build on that template. You start training the template, it's a repeatable template. And I'm running it for my third time now. With obviously small modifications here or there. As I modify, I'll sell updated template or offer updated template versions, right? So this gives, guys a chance to do what I've been doing, what's been working for me, and then come to your own conclusions and maybe modifying stuff that works better for you, eliminating things that you think aren't necessary for your training that you're not able to recover from or whatnot. And that's kind of where I'm at now, right? And obviously the powerlifting is just in me. I can't give that up. I just will always be a powerlifter. And while I'm an arm wrestler, I will always be a low-level shitty powerlifter. I hope one day, right now I'm a low-level shitty powerlifter and arm wrestler. I hope one day to be a high-level arm wrestler and then a shitty powerlifter. That'd be great.
So full into arm wrestling forever now. That's the goal.
Oh yeah, I can't see me walking away from this. I love it. I don't see anything deterring me. Even a severe injury, I would probably treat like I do with powerlifting, wait till I recover and get right back at it. And
you got another arm,
Yeah, exactly. Right. You got the party arm then, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm super stoked. Again, I can't wait for my tournament that I'm gonna do, kind of see where I'm at. If I'm being honest, like if I had to place top 5, I'd be stoked. We'll see. It depends on who shows up, right? And there's a lot going on that day, so we'll see how things go. I know there's some killers out there in Cali though that are probably too much for me, and I'm excited to see what happens off a ready go in a real official match. So yeah,
and a tournament is so much different than a super match, because a super match you get to adjust to the same guy round to round, and in a tournament you've got a different puller each time, and you can. One of the things that happens to me a lot is I'll have a couple good pulls because I'm so aggressive and so focused in the setup, and then I'll start to get too confident, and then I'll get into the setup and I'll kind of give up way too much because I'm just like, yeah, I got this, and then I'll get caught something stupid, and it's like, oh, this is a fucking tournament. Like I can't take a moment to give it up to lose anything. You know what I mean? And there's so many different aspects to it that keep going on. So.
Sure. Yeah. My style is definitely more favored to the super match format, being open and top roll, King's move guide with the flop with press and a regular press and a post and top roll. Anyways, I have a few options, but my primarily strength, if I'm going to get someone that's significantly stronger than me in terms of the fundamentals of arm wrestling center table work, I'm going to go to a King's move, which the longer the match, the better. And then if I get into a battle and then I end up winning that battle, I still got all that wear on my arm going into the next battle. So, I'll be interested to see how I do. We'll see who I get lined up against maybe if I'll have my team there, a lot of guys from my team will be there, and then they'll be able to just tell me, hey man, just sink in that hook, just dive in that fucking hook, don't be scared. See if I have to do that, right? Or if I just instinct takes over and I just do whatever feels fucking right when I'm going in the moment, right? So
that's the best way, I think, is if you can leave that little bit of instinct, again, like, because it's a fight where you're reacting as opposed to, like, again, I find this with a lot of guys that lift or that came from a lifting background that get into arm wrestling, is they because we approach, like, the way you approach a lift, you can't approach the actual match the same way, where it's like, okay, I put my feet here and then I grab the bar like this and then I breathe like this and then I do this. And then, like you said, it's going to feel like this because I know what to expect.
Sure.
You do too much of that, and then all of a sudden you get in there and something doesn't feel right and you get in your head, and then the go hits and you're caught way off guard. So you have to leave that, like, that fight aspect where you're kind of going off of instinct, you know?
Sure, and you don't want to be too predictable either. And also, you can telegraph shit too. If you're setting up, pretending you got a shoulder behind, but you just drop out. There's a lot of cool things you can do.
Yep.
That would change the way your feet are, the way your setup is, and everything like that. So, like just the top of what you said, in powerlifting, the goal is to be a robot, a machine, the exact same thing every single time. So that when you make a change, you know what was helped or worse, made it worse. Yeah. Where in arm wrestling, may not be the case. Maybe for your specific move, you have a great setup and certain thing that you do. But again, who am I to say? I'm 2 years in, right?
No, that's totally true. You can look at the pullers that are like that. There are definitely robotic pullers that have one way of pulling. And like maybe Travis Bajan is, I wouldn't call him robotic, but it's kind of like that, where he's like, these are the things I do, period. And I do them this well, and they work this much of the time, which is like 99.9% of the time. But there is a way to beat it. And if you can do it, then he like, once you get him out here, he just doesn't look anything, looks like a completely different person, So
that's what makes it fun to me, right? Like, the difference between arm wrestling and powerlifting is that combat aspect of it. Powerlifting doesn't really do it for me anymore because arm wrestling is so much more thrilling, like fighting one-on-one against somebody else, using all those trash talking tactics, and then the actual combat of arm wrestling, having to figure out how to arm wrestle this guy, or all those little tricks you do in the setup. Like, that's what makes it so much more exciting to me.
Unpredictability. Like, going into a meet, you kind of know what everyone's capable of. We've seen their videos on Instagram, right? Mm-hmm. And powerlifting just got gayer and gayer as it went on. Like, now they're like getting rid of a squat, and they want everything in a monolith because they don't want you walking out because it's too dangerous. So now you're taking records from OGs that walked it out, but they're calling it the same record. It's not like an asterisk or a different category. Yeah, that's lame, dude. Lame. And I don't like where it was going with that. And I always walk my shit out and give a fuck what federation, what it was. So the cool thing about the squat was the walkout, because you could fucking die. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot that can go wrong. Yeah. And they take that.
It was part of the movement, knowing where you were putting your feet, like being that in control of the weight, that even though that much is on your shoulders, you're still stepping back in the right position, getting your feet under you where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, because walking out with 1,000 pounds is just as cool as squatting it, like, or almost as cool, right? You're holding it on your back and walking. Like, that's fucking sick. Like, how often does people do that?
I'll tell you right now, the walkout, the squat was if I could walk it out, I could squat it. Put it that way. That was the hardest part of the squat for me, was getting it out of the rack, taking those 2 steps and having your feet as good as you can get them, because there ain't too much adjusting you're going to fucking do when you got a G on your back. Yeah. And then hoping that it's not too far off to where the right muscles are going to be working, and then get your ass down there and get the fuck back up and get that thing off your back.
And also wait, give it that time to, like, the bar to actually relax and all that.
And race under that.
Right. Yeah. The first time I squatted 900 pounds raw, no wraps and sleeves. I was shooting a video for Muscular Development. I think I was training with Dusty Hanshaw, Eric Spoto, Stan Efreen, all these guys were there. And it was the first attempt at 905 raw. And this time there wasn't too many people that had done this at all ever. And when I did it the first time, I dropped so fast the bar like rainbowed or butterfly and pulled me forward. I did a fucking lunge. I seemed like it was forever for my spotters to grab me. I watched the video, they grabbed me quick, but we were under that kind of weight. I was like, God, you guys left me down there, but they didn't. Anyways, I get that. I'm going back up. I don't have it in the rack yet. I'm looking at my guys. I'm doing it again. We rack it, and everyone's a little scared. They're like, I don't know, man. Like that. I look real bad. And, like I've said before, I'm definitely tougher than I am smart. So I was like, no, I'm fucking doing it again. And I did it again, smashed it, squatted it, and then you had to learn that bar speed is important. I had with big weight, anything north of 800, you have to go real slow when you start, and then speed up at the bottom to get that muscle reflex off the bottom. Because if you just go from 0 and drop fast, you get that whoa, and it'll fuck you up.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Did you adapt your programming style, like the block periodization from powerlifting into arm wrestling? Can you talk about how you set up your blocks and then how you peak for arm wrestling competitions?
Sure. So block periodization, juggernaut training is what I did for powerlifting. We learned through Chad Wesley Smith. That's what I coach my clients under and everything like that. So my arm wrestling training is very similar to that, where I have moments or phases of hypertrophy where I'm focused on growing these muscles, especially these little tendon muscles and everything, because a bigger muscle always has potential to be a stronger muscle.
Yep.
So when a muscle's bigger, it doesn't necessarily mean it's stronger than a smaller muscle, but it means it can be stronger than a smaller muscle. So having phases where I'm focused primarily on hypertrophy, growing muscle, slapping more meat on there, and then phases of strength, tightening that muscle up, getting it strong, then phases of peaking where overloading and then tapering out the workload, maintaining technique, preventing technique from decaying, maintaining fitness, maintaining CNS adaptation, all those kind of things going into an event. So with the template that I offer, it's micro blocks, just 2-week blocks, acclimation, intensification, where if I was doing custom programming for someone, it'd be a little more extensive.
Yep.
There would be some acclimation, intensification, just
longer period of time, I'm guessing, as well.
Longer times, not so quick rushed. You know what I mean? That would just be the difference between custom programming and template work, right? But again, I have the ability to custom program for myself, and I follow basically the lines of my template because I think I did a pretty good job at developing this one, at least for the phase of strength that I'm at currently. It's working great. Will it change? Of course, just like in powerlifting. What I was doing when I was squatting 1,000 pounds isn't the same that I was doing when I was squatting 600 pounds. And that's kind of what I was saying when we first started cracking this off, to where, these guys who training for 30 years may be telling a guy that's been training for 6 months what to do when you've been training for 30 years, not when you've been training for 6 months.
Right. Yeah, totally. Brendan, for table time, you said now you're doing like trying to get each arm in once a month by going every 2 weeks and alternating arms. When you first started, were you arm wrestling a lot more frequently than that?
Yes. Every week, I would arm wrestle, and then I would seem to get weaker and weaker every practice.
Yeah, for sure.
Just from the wear. And then,
would you try to lift heavy in the week in between, or would you do a lot of lighter weight recovery stuff?
I would still do my powerlifting work pretty heavy. And then for arm wrestling specific movements, it's very, very light, very high frequency, almost every day, and very, very high volume with very, very low intensity. So we're talking that 30 to 50 rep range, 300 to 700 reps per workout.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how I had to do it to build up the little bit of elbow integrity that I have, which still ain't great, let me tell you.
Yeah, was it hard to manage the heavy powerlifting training in between weekly arm wrestling practices?
It got lighter and lighter each week, man. Let's put it that way. I went from benching north of 500 to barely hitting 405 for doubles because I was just so fucking beat up. And I'm not much stronger than that now. My bench was creeping back up there, close to knocking on that door of 500. I think like 485 is kind of where I was at in terms of numbers I was working with. And then I had a partial little pec tear, and it fucked me up. Because when I would arm wrestle, then when I'd pull off a peg, it would aggravate it. Yeah. So I stopped benching to my chest just until after the LA Fit Expo. I'm benching to a bench block to a 2 board, which stops you about 4 inches off the chest. So I'm not getting that full stretch in, which is kind of where I'm having the pain in the pec. Yeah. So again, the difference you're going to find between mediocre guys and the top guys are the top guys are going to find a way to train no matter fucking what and do whatever they can to improve. Yeah. Where other guys may find any excuse not to train that day. Or I'm not saying I'm one of the top guys. I'm just saying I was in strength. And I'm trying to applicate.
Well, it's like you said, it's that mentality, right? Like that's definitely. I remember when I first got into it, and I talked to Jeremy, and Jeremy was getting into it too. And I was like, so like how seriously do you want to take it? And he was just like, well, I know how much dedication and time it takes to become the best at something. or to get to the top of something. And I don't know if I really want to spend that time and effort on arm wrestling. Like, he's like, I'm not sure if I do. And I remember thinking, like, as the moment he said that, I was like, oh, good. That's exactly what I want to do. Like, what's attracting me to this sport so much is the idea that I'm hoping to be my best at 45 or at 50. You know what I mean? Like the longevity of it just was so what, got me so interested in it. And for me, real quickly, it's kind of similar to you, obviously nowhere near the numbers, but I was getting up in the raw natural numbers. Like, I was getting ready for a 600-pound squat. I was ready to peak for that. I'd hit 551 in comp, hit like a 365 bench, and was getting ready to 400 bench, 600 pull, all that stuff. And then opened a restaurant with my wife. Life kind of took over and started to fade away from powerlifting. Then I got real sick, got testicular cancer, had to go through a whole bunch of shit with that, had a huge surgery, which left me with a giant hernia. So then with the hernia, I couldn't squat or deadlift anymore. And I remember getting over the first surgery where they opened me up like this for the cancer thing, like from sternum to pelvis. And so I had that huge scar. And it was 4 months later, and I'm starting to squat again and getting close to 4 plates. So let's put a belt on. And as soon as I put the belt on and went down, I just felt something weird, in my stomach. And then from there, there's hernia, and it just kept growing. So obviously powerlifting is now gone, and I'm spent maybe 2 years trying to figure out what I can do. I figured that I could still bench. So I got ready for a bench only meet, got my bench up to close to 400 pounds. I hit 391 and 391 flew, and 402 should have gone. And as soon as I got to that point, mid where I really had to strain and use leg drive and really, really push, it just did not want to go. And I could feel the hernia and stuff. So I was real discouraged after that meet, because I was I can't even bench. I thought at least with the hernia lying down, I'd be able to still push myself benching. But as soon as I got to max lifts, it was just not going to work at all. And as I was leaving the Toronto Fit Expo from the powerlifting meet, I saw the arm wrestling happening. And I was like, oh, what the fuck is this? This is a sport? And then found Devin online, practiced for about a month, went to my first tournament. Devin was at the tournament and met him. And then it was just I was, balls deep and all in 100% from that moment forward. But just to relate what you said about the lifts, as I started training arm wrestling, the first couple of weeks, I was like, okay, so when I bench, I'm going to use an axle bar, and I'm going to do it like this for my grip. And I was just trying to do all this stuff for grip. And the first week I hit 275 on the axle bar for sets of 12 or something, just nice, easy. And then I remember going to bench either the next week or 2 weeks later, and it was 135. I was like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And I was just and I just accepted, because I knew I couldn't powerlift anyway. So I just totally accepted, I don't really care what happened to these numbers. I just want to see the arm wrestling improve. And so I spent the first 6 months trying to arm wrestle twice a week and just do recovery work in between. And that recovery work slowly over the 6 months eventually got to where it was heavy enough that I'm not really going to do recovery work anymore. Now maybe I can start to fix in some of the conventional lifts and stuff. And then that's where we kind of came up with our, what we call our Table Monkeys strength training program, which is basically our way of adapting arm wrestling to a powerlifting, what you guys were just talking about, to your block periodization and stuff. And the way we look at it is your practice day is your max effort day. It's your all-in day. And then the rest of the week, you're going to auto-regulate as your volume and either recovery or speed work. And then we same thing, we give it as a template style. So based on what you need to work on or where your strengths and weaknesses are, you can adjust it. But it's basically your pulling day is the first day of the week. Then you have a recovery session after that. Then we take our first and only rest day of the week. And then it's 3 days of compound lifting, which we break up sort of bodybuilder style. So right now with the match I have coming up, it's triceps and triceps and flexion first day, and then second day is bench and biceps, and then the last day is back and shoulders. And that's because I want my bench and bicep to be the most like where I can push it the hardest. So it's the Wednesday, like furthest from the pulling session.
Yep.
And then you have one more recovery day, which is the same as the other one. And then you pull, and then you just kind of repeat that. But it's just that idea of auto-regulating it and using all those methods from, repetition method, max effort method, dynamic method, and how are you going to incorporate those into the world of arm wrestling while still being able to be fresh for arm wrestling. You know what I mean?
Because you have to auto-regulate your training when you arm wrestle, because one week you could show up to practice and then there's, the best guy in your state there with you, and he's just destroying the hell out of your arms. And then your next week of training is destroyed because now you're getting opened up constantly. And maybe the week before you're the strongest guy at your practice. So the next week of training is great. You can progress from the previous week. You have to learn how to auto-regulate each week based on how hard your pulls are, because it's a huge variable that happens.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like Bob Brown was asking me, he was like, Brandon, he's like, when you were powerlifting, he's like, do you max out every week? Or I'm like, no. And like depending on the phase too, it would be like once a month in terms of maximum effort on whatever hypertrophy, strength, peaking, whatever we're at. And then he was like, yeah, he's like, you should approach arm wrestling the same way. And that's kind of really hit home with me. It's made a lot of sense. And because I'm it's hard for me mentally to do things something only once a month. It's better to do the one, and then 2 weeks later the other arm. I think that's a better way of breaking it up, and that way you don't have too much of a decay in technique.
Yeah,
yeah. What you say with auto regulating, and again, that's going to depend on your experience level. Like I train, I do programming for Michael Todd. That dude doesn't really get that sore. He's kind of a freak, and he's always pushing it. And some days I'm like, hey, you might be hurting here. Let's pull back. And then he's like, yeah, I feel great. I'm like, fuck, all right. Old man putting in work, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I tell you when he's
and then also Chance Shaw's another guy who I program for, and Chance is making huge strides. He's got a little bit of an injury right now that we're dealing with, but nothing that's affecting his arm wrestling, affecting his squats and deadlifts. But I'm excited to see these guys, implement this style of training that I've never done it before, and start making real progress. And they already have been. It's pretty fucking neat. You know what I mean? I love it. It's a lot of fun.
I've been finding it hard to manage how much intensity I put into table time, because I find I would love to be able to keep that at like a 70 to 80% intensity, but it's just so hard because you'll go up against a guy who's much stronger than you, and you're going to have to give 100% intensity. Otherwise, you're going to get ripped open, or you have to kind of come to some agreement with him about how you're going to arm wrestle. And a lot of guys don't want to do that. They just want to get on the table and bang. So
that's your team. Yeah, you gotta know who are the guys to avoid and who are the guys to get on the table with. And we have those too. So
yeah, that's
for the most part, anyone on my team, if I just voice with them, hey, we're not doing anything. This little gap on the center table is all we're working. Anything on that, letting up. If I start getting you here, I'll start letting up, because I'm just working on, that's the main area that I need the most work on. And, you just, when you get opened up is when you start causing the real damage. So I would even say maybe every other practice too, I'm not going as hard as I am on the other one, and as I get older, maybe I'll get better as elbow integrity, and that won't be as much of a factor. But for right now, it's kind of where I'm at. And I don't mean to expect you guys. I just know my computer's dying soon, and I don't have the cord. It's upstairs.
No worries. Okay, we're going on just an hour anyway now, so we can start to wind it down a little bit. But yeah, I guess the last thing I was going to say, just to touch on the auto-regulating that Alex was saying, is I really try to manage that too in practice, where if it's just the guys from Table Monkeys, then for the most part, I'm pretty much the strongest guy there. So I'm holding for everybody else, but I'll definitely, based on the training and stuff, I'll plan okay, are we going to go practice with this guy? Are we going to am I going to invite this guy over for practice? Are we going to travel around, so that when I know, so if let's say I've got 6 weeks to get ready, I want at the beginning of the 6 weeks for my table time to be more intense and my gym time to be a little bit less intense. And then as I get closer to the meet, this is at least the way that we've figured it and the way we program it, as we get closer to the meet, so let's say 4 weeks out is my last and most intense table session, and that week before is probably my lightest gym sessions, and then my gym sessions start to ramp up as I basically come off the table for the following 3 weeks as I get closer to the meet. And the point again about the auto regulating is that when you have nothing going on, then like Alex was saying, you might be the strongest guy this week. So your gym sessions are all like 6s and 8s, like for rep ranges. And then you get beat to shit because the best guy in the, we just pulled with Devin or something. And then the next week is like 12s and 15s or 15s and 20s,
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep. I understand. I love that. I have the same philosophy as you. Harder table time further out, taper the table time down as you get closer in, and increase the gym work, but increase the intensity of the gym work. So yeah, very similar style, very similar approach. Actually, tomorrow I'm doing program development. I've been working on this template for a while for peaking for an event. Hopefully I'm able to finalize that tomorrow, because I also have the bench program I'm finalizing this tomorrow as well, that I'll be releasing both probably the next week. If not the following week for sure. So stay tuned for that. And if you guys are interested, just let me know, and I'll make sure you guys have the ability to check it out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, for sure.
Brandon, before you get off, can you like tell us about like some of your goals in arm wrestling in this coming year? Any guys you'd like to pull in particular?
And also, do you have a super match other than you're doing the tournament, but you don't have a super match planned out yet, right?
No, I didn't want any extra pressure. I just want to be able to do the tournament and see how I do, and go from there. I was asked if I wanted a match with Tony Tomlinson, right-handed, towards early July. I have some conflicting things going on that day. I want to do it. I haven't committed to it, or I haven't denied it yet. So we'll see. There's always the potential going back to King of the Table. I'd really want to crack at Ryan Bowen. I think the longer that goes, the better it is for me. So whatever,
you smash Ryan right now.
I want to make it happen though. He told me he's never gone against someone that can King's move, and he wants to test his wits. I told him,
pulled anybody with a King's move.
One more time.
I don't think he's pulled anyone with a King's move except Devin, and that's barely any times.
Yeah, so I would like to test my strength against Ryan. I know Ryan is a very smart arm wrestler compared to me. He has a lot more table time and wrist integrity and things like that, and elbow integrity. But I don't know, man. I think it'd be fun. I'd like to go beat up on the Australian ginger.
Yeah, I think the match with Tony would be a good match too, because he's like a very long lever top roller. Kind of could be bad for you, but it would be
very bad. Yeah, Tony.
Does Tony have much of a press too? Can he get over his arm, or is he all just dragging back?
He gets that top roll and drops to the bottom of the table and pulls you down with him.
Yeah.
Me and Tony have pulled. We pulled at my house before, so I'm confident. He may be much stronger now. He may be too much, but I know I'm way stronger now than I was last time.
Man, the King's move is a lot. It's a lot for people to handle, especially if they're a top roller and they want to come back and drag on you. It's usually a bad day for that top roller.
Super match format as well, right? So
yeah,
which is going to favor me. So again, my post is getting way better. My high hand top roll is improving a ton. I even do low hand top roll depending on the opponent. Again, it all just kind of depends. Sometimes I try to do a high hand top roll and then it just turns into a low hand top roll because the wrist will dump. And and my back pressure is a lot stronger than what my wrist can handle in terms of my riser.
Right.
So again, I just can't wait to see it. We'll see. I don't want to buzz too much about me and Tony because that match may or may not happen.
Yeah.
So hopefully it does. It potentially will be happening on the same card as Derek Smith versus Dave Chafee. So
that match confirmed? Holy shit.
That's not confirmed, no.
Oh, okay.
Well, if it is confirmed, then hopefully yours is confirmed.
Exactly. That might influence me to want to do it even more, right? So
yeah.
When roughly would that be? Do you have an idea?
July 9th.
July? Cool.
Awesome. So you got some time to work for it.
Well, I know. I don't know if you remember Evan mentioning that I would definitely love to pull you sometime. So hopefully,
I didn't realize that if I told Evan I'd pull him, he'd bitch out on not coming to Vegas for the PAL tournament. Otherwise, you know what I mean. I would have kept it to myself. But
what's that?
Yeah, if I would have known that if I told Evan that I was going to pull him at the PLO tournament that he wasn't going to come, I would have never said anything. So we could have got some table time in. But
yeah, no, I meant that Evan told you that he wanted to see a match.
I know. I want to, and I'd love to pull you too. I'm just saying I was busting Evan's balls for bitching.
You're busting Evan's balls, yeah. So that's always acceptable thing to do is busting everybody's balls always. But yeah, I hope that we can somehow work that out sometime, even if it's just a fun practice match, because I think there's a lot of similarities, and I think it would be a fun hang. So,
yeah, definitely. Dude, I appreciate you guys for having me on. It's been a great chatting with you. I definitely think I take your input and what you're saying about training. I like it. I like what I hear. It's similar to me. It kind of gives me affirmation of what I'm doing. And
same on this side.
yeah, you know, so I think we're all doing something right, and which is great. And again, looking forward to chatting with you guys in the future and figuring out ways how we can both improve our ways of training, because the better we get at it, the better the community that follows us gets at it. And hey, you know, more killers, the better.
Yeah,
I'll give you one thing that we do that just as to think about, just so we didn't mention. On all our heavy like compound days when we're working the rest of our body, we always start it with like a little hand circuit and finish it with a hand circuit, so that we kind of go into the main lifts with our hand and forearm already got a bit of a pump and a bit of a like fatigue going on, as opposed to like using fat grips and trying to overwork our hands in those movements. So just a little thing maybe you try sometimes, like your rice bucket and I don't know, like the wrist curl.
I'm actually learning. I'm learning a ton about hand strength and grip training through Jed Johnson. I recently hired him. I'm super happy with my progress I've made with him so far. Everything I learned from him, I will implement. You know what I mean, to people I train myself. And I think the missing factor I have is hand and wrist. I think Jed is helping me address those answers or those problems. And I promise you, my hand is way stronger now than it's ever been. And a lot of that is from what I learned from Jed. So I'm super excited about that and continue making progress. Like I said, I just want to fucking fast forward a few years and just have all this, you know what I mean, done. But you know, going through it is part of the game. So
it's fun.
yeah, that's where I'm at now. But that's, you know, I'm training 3 times a day right now. And one of it's powerlifting in the morning, arm wrestling template in the evening or afternoon, excuse me, and then grip focus specifically by Jed for the evening. So
nice. Yeah, that's a good breakdown.
Yeah, luckily I work from home. I've set myself up to be self-employed, so I'm able to do that.
That's awesome. And what are those all like your powerlifting workout about an hour and a half, or like are they each about an hour and a half long, or?
The powerlifting one's like hour and 20 minutes if you include stretching, and then the arm wrestling one takes about an hour and 20 minutes if you include stretching, and the grip one is about an hour including stretching. So we're you know, you're looking at around 4 hours or so of training a day.
Yeah. I know you got to go, but when you talk about stretching, do you include mobility work for arm wrestling specifically?
Well, I don't, not in my template. No, that would be like through custom programming. Yeah. I you know, when I do programming for someone, I include everything.
Yeah. But I mean, like before you do arm wrestling training, are you doing mobility work specific to arm wrestling?
He's asking for you personally.
Post after I work out. You don't want to stretch before working out, even with powerlifting. More dynamic stretching is what I do. Band work, holds for 15 to 30 seconds only, but you don't want to elongate muscles right before you train them. You're making yourself higher susceptible to injury. So, but post training, absolutely stretching. You know, as I stretch 3 times a day, and I'm not the most flexible guy in the world. That's why I'm addressing it the way I am. So I can't be more flexible.
Okay. So you're actually like stretching your wrists back and forth, opening up your pec, stuff like this.
Jed has a whole program for me that I do. It's like 8 different stretches that I do. Nice. Yeah, I feel the difference. You know, it's really it's great. You know, I'm super happy with the progress, and Jed's a great coach. If you guys are interested, reach out to Jed Johnson. I found him on Facebook and shot him a DM and hired him from there. I think charges like $150 a month, and it's been good. I'm satisfied. So yeah, if you guys are interested in finding me, you can find me on Instagram. If you want to get a direct message to me, that'd be your quickest response. It's Brandon Allen, Filthy Power, one word. And my YouTube channel, if you want to see some of my arm wrestling content, that's Brandon Allen, Filthy Power as well. Or you can email me at filthypowerprogramming@yahoo.com if you don't have social media. But Instagram is going to be your best bet. So try to reach out to me there. That'll be your quickest way to get a hold of me.
Awesome, man.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for coming on. Thanks
so much, man. Really a pleasure to talk to you, and hope to talk again soon. And yeah, hopefully we meet up sometime later this year.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. It's been great, guys. Anytime you want to have me back on, let me know, and I'm willing to come up here and shoot the shit with you guys if you want to hear my retarded ass talk some more.
No worries. Awesome, man.
Thank you, Brandon.
Later, guys.
Thanks so much. All right, ciao.
All right, sick.
Sweet, man. Yeah, that went well.
That was awesome.
I like the confirmation on so many of the training styles and techniques and stuff, you know? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the way he trains is very similar to ours.
Yeah.
I I I like the idea of minimizing how many table sessions you have after a brief period of like doing it consistently.
Yeah. I mean, remember, I was thinking about that too, like blocking it. Like, okay, I mean, I was doing, once a week versus every other day. So maybe I need to take the other approach at some point too, you know, where it's like, and I thought about that. I remember when I was thinking about that for with Fortis West, like every 10 days, if I would pull like hard every 10 days. So I go like Saturday and then the next Wednesday and then the next Saturday, you know? So yeah, there's so many different ways to approach it for sure.
Yeah, I think it's just been somewhat corrupted, not that's the wrong word to use, but like too inspired by Devin's protocol for pulling just all the time, right?
And yeah, and there's a lot to be. I mean, I know like exactly, and Evan is somebody who really preaches that method too, of just beating themselves down so far. And one of the issues with that is that once you're, you know, if this is where your peak is, but you're down here, then how much progress are you actually able to make if you're only able to, if you're not even able to push yourself in practice, you know? There's a lot to be said for, in order to get a good workout, you got to be ready to do it. So, and
then there's like almost no progress you can make in the gym. Like I found for the longest time, it's been incredibly hard, no matter how hard I go in pulling, because I'm always going hard enough that it's really hard to make progress in the gym. So when I'm arm wrestling once a week, and it gets to a point where I start to regress, and then, you know, that's when it gets depressing, and then you start doing even worse in arm wrestling practice as well. So,
and I think there's also a lot of different, like I just noticing in the chat here, Benjamin Mack making a point that Krasi does pulling every day too. And I know a lot of the European guys, the way they do it is they do their lifting in the gym, and then they pull for like a half hour after, when they have no, like Taras Ivankin always talked about that, is he would always want to pull when he's already exhausted from the gym, so that he can't use any real force. He can't damage his elbow. He's not going to hurt his wrist because everything's already fatigued. And now he's just working the motions. So it's kind of like, it'd be like, you know, doing, I don't know, doing your, what would be a good example? Doing all your weight training first, and then going to do whatever fight sport it is or whatever, so you can't actually hit each other as hard, so you're not causing as much damage, something like that. But the point is that if you're gonna just pull at an intensity more than 60 or 70%, to do that multiple times a week, there's no way that you're, by the end of the week, your 60-70% is actually like 30-40%, you know, and the amount of progress you're actually going to make from that is questionable. Even, but again, this sport is so much connective tissue and so much intuition and so much understanding the table and all that stuff, that maybe there is a lot of value in that. Those guys that do that, they do win a lot, you know.
Well, it depends on like where you are in your career, right? Evan is like a decade into the sport now. I don't know if he's been doing that this entire time, but he also,
the entire time he's always pulled the same way.
Yeah, but I'm sure he's dealt with a lot of time where he was, you know, not doing so hot on the table, in pain a lot of the time, and maybe he could have made better progress if he chilled a little bit on his frequency, right? I also think that,
and he said getting ready for Schoolboy is the first time he actually lifted, and he said his hand, he was feeling so strong. So it's like, there you go. Yeah. Like maybe that is effective. And so there's a lot of it, like everybody says, you know, almost anything works if you just do it. But after talking with Brandon, and once you really start looking at the science of things, there is a right and wrong way to approach things. But there also isn't like cookie cutter one way works for everybody. Like you do have to auto-regulate and adapt, and it does depend on your genetics and your situation and all those things as well. So,
and your job, like Mark Ryder just said in the chat, like, yeah, if you work a manual labor job and you arm wrestle, it's really hard to get any other gym time in.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why BLM is fucking got the hand that he has and is so goddamn strong, is because he's an iron worker, and he has been for many years, and he's young still. So he's been arm wrestling since he was like 16 or 17 or something like that. Plus he's been an iron worker for, I don't know, maybe since he was 18 or 19. so that you put those two things together, and yeah, does he need a lot of gym time? Not for his hand, he doesn't. Could he benefit from 6 months off work and 6 months on Brandon Allen's powerlifting program alone and not touching the table? 100%. He would be a different puller at the end of that if he had the time and could put in the effort to just lifting. But the thing is, if he got 6 months off to just focus on training for arm wrestling, I'm pretty sure he would train the way that Devin trains. He would just arm wrestle all the time, which, sorry, it's hard to know because unless you can take two twins, like the exact same person and put them on the same path.
It's hard because it's like what Devin said in one way is definitely more fun than the other. Like arm wrestling 2-3 times a week is definitely more fun than going to the gym and arm wrestling every other week. Like I love lifting, but arm wrestling is so much more fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, what do you say? I think call it a night.
Yeah. Any more questions in the chat? Thanks everybody for watching. By the way, if you haven't liked already, please hit that like.
His philosophical approach to arm wrestling is very progressive. I mean, there's multiple meanings to that.
Progressive, I guess.
Yeah, Marcio Barboza, that's a perfect example. He's a concrete worker. Like, look, his hands, his arms, like he picks up 100-pound buckets of concrete all fucking day and has his whole life. Like, that's going to carry over to the table.
Right.
That's also going to affect how he can lift in the gym. But as people, weather themselves and condition their elbows, you see them able to do some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But Brandon's only 2 years in, and he's already breaking into that elite ranking spots for arm wrestling. There's something to be said about how managing table time and training well, and then learning how to be versatile on the table.
Yeah,
it'll get you far quickly, and we've seen that with I think a lot of people in the last 2 years, due to a lot in factor because of the YouTube boom and just how easy information is to find out there. For how to practice, for how to do techniques, for how to lift, like all that shit is readily available. Yeah. And in the last 2 years, like our crew has gone insane in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have come out of nowhere, not just us and Brandon Allen. Right. So the sport is only going to progress in that way as well.
Yeah, it's growing like crazy. And I think it's that like seeing the fight aspect of it where that's where it's becoming different too, is even like somebody like Larry and someone like Brandon who come from so much similar backgrounds are so close in strength together. And Brandon pretty much dummied him on the table. And Larry's been pulling with some of the best guys, pulling constantly. But there's something there where Larry doesn't understand the fight aspect of it yet. He still looks at it as a lift, and Brandon fully understands the fight aspect of it and then knows how to use his lifting to make him a better fighter. And I think that is the key. And I think that was one of the biggest things I got from our talk with Todd a couple of weeks ago, was the fact that he thought it's more of a fight sport. And he's probably the most scientific just lifting guy that there is, where he says he pulls like maybe 6 times a year, So it's the point is that once you learn how to fight, then the gym can become really, really effective in making you a better fighter. But until you learn how to fight, other than recovery, I don't feel like the gym is very important.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I feel like it could be the difference between Larry and Brandon there is that Larry didn't have to give up powerlifting and like his sport because of injury. Obviously, he's been injured, but he's able to still compete at a high level, at least in the gym. I don't think he powerlifts on the competition anymore. But Brandon's like fully into arm wrestling. So he's like, all right, this is a fight sport. I see what Devin does. Like, I need to adapt to that and put that into the way I see the sport. Larry hasn't quite realized that yet, or he's still stuck in between the worlds of strength and arm wrestling. And that's why Brandon was able to just, pick apart that fundamental, or that one-dimensional puller who can only hook, right? He's got a king's move, and he's learning all the other moves on the hill. Like he knows where his weaknesses are, and he's attacking them. So that's why he's progressing so quickly.
No, it's awesome. And it's funny how similar it is to exactly how my progression too. And the like over here strong, over here strong, right in between that nothing. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's true. I remember Mike Gould saying that the PAL tournament back a while ago when the one that was in Magda's backyard when I pulled Dusty and put him on the table, and he was just like, honestly, once you figure out this center of the table strength, you're going to be like a lot to deal with. And
it is.
That's what I've been trying to focus on. I think that we're getting there, and
Yeah. All right. Well, let's end the live stream. This is a good one. Thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys. And I did talk to Matt Mask. He said he's good for next week. So it looks like next Wednesday we will be on with Matty Max. I don't know where that. I tried to be clever and I got fucked up. But the other thing, everybody, spread the word. Don't forget Toddzilla in Toronto this Saturday, Fortis Fitness. Get your tickets and be there or be square. It's going to be a fucking awesome event. And once again, thank you everybody for joining tonight. We will see you guys next week. And that is all.
That's all. Peace out. Monkeys out.
Monkeys out. Peace. Stream is ended.
Sweet. I just threw the link in.